So how are you, man? How's lockdown been treating you? I see your new vlog with your kiddos making pizza. How are they enjoying the time with you guys at home?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So we've been trying to make the most of the fact that we can't go anywhere. So of course we have a vlog channel. So we've been, just putting out content and try to be creative with the content we can do at home. Because obviously you can't really go anywhere. So you have to just do the most of with what you can do. And then yeah, man. And so that's what we've been up to. And it's lockdown's been okay. The cooking and the baking has been the best part of lockdown so far because it keeps the kids busy, keeps us busy, and yeah.
And the dishes, the tons and tons of dishes that just keep piling up in the sink.
Hey, and that's the thing. So we recently actually, just right when we actually recently moved to a new spot, and we got a dishwasher. So that was cool, and my wife is super fired up about that. So she's been testing out a dishwasher there and we've been messing around with that.
Yeah,
So
we've
yeah,
been
it's
looking
super
for
cool.
one because I'm just done.
Sorry, what you
I
say?
can't anymore. We've been looking for one because I'm just done. Like, me and the sink are not friends right now.
Yeah, it's a problem.
So, I was saying earlier that when we spoke, it was week before last, I was talking about how small churches shifting to the space that you guys are in, because I know it's very difficult for them now to all of a sudden just catch up after not even knowing how this internet stuff works. And you guys are pretty savvy with this. I mean, y'all have your live videos going off without a hitch every week, and you showed me your entire makeup of how you guys do the stuff because y'all are pretty technical, but y'all are good with managing this kind of stuff. But now we have now level or episode 4 lockdown happening Friday. It still doesn't mean that church is open, and that's probably only going to happen from around level 2 or level 1. What are you guys planning to do going forward for the next few months if this continues for like 3 to 4 months?
Okay, so what's been working out for us actually is that the fact that we went live from the beginning. A lot of churches, what they did when they heard that the
Yeah,
president was going to do lockdown, they pre-recorded a couple of things, right? So they pre-recorded
yeah,
the Sundays that they thought they were going to be offline. And so when the extension happened, they were kind of caught now with their pants down. It was like, oh snap, we now need to go and either pre-record new stuff at church, or we now need to come up with a plan B. And so what worked for us in our favor is that we went live from home since the beginning. So that when the extension happened, we
yeah,
were already in the position of, okay, we're already doing this method, so let's just stick to this method. So moving forward, look, one of the biggest challenges at this point is simply the fact that we have staff, or obviously full-time staff at the church, and
yeah,
obviously funding is being affected big time with the fact that people can't come to church. So
yeah.
now we need to obviously now figure out, okay, how are we going to continue to pay the staff? Because we can't just say, hey guys, it is what it is. There's nothing we can do at this point.
Yeah.
Um, we need to now come up with different ways to generate some sort of income so people, these people have families and things. We need to obviously make sure they get the income coming through. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a constant challenge. But what we've been doing moving forward is we're going to just continue the online services. But we've also started incorporating is the Zoom calls. So we started getting like pastors from different countries to come in on a Zoom call and then discuss various
Yeah, yeah.
issues and various challenges. And that's kind of how we've been playing our cards.
I saw there was a news article that came out the other day of what pastor, or I don't even know what they call him, but Bushiri, that he started charging for his services now online to kind of make up for people not being able to come to church. And I mean, he's got a massive church. So, do you think it is wise for pastors to go that direction? Because no one knows how long people are actually not going to be able to attend services going forward. And most people, South Africa, unfortunately, is behind in the times with regards to tithing and offering and kind of supporting the church in that way. We like to be by the basket and touch the basket for some reason, but that's now obviously not possible. So do you think it's a wise idea for pastors doing that, or do you think it's going to kind of eliminate, or not eliminate, but it's going to break the contact that they need with their people?
I'm not sure we would ever go that route. There's various challenges. It starts becoming tricky, and you start skating on thin ice when you go that direction. Obviously, people feel. Look, there's one thing that we need to understand. The salvation is free, but the delivery is expensive. So the fact that God saved. In fact, the salvation is free for us, but someone paid for it. Jesus paid for it with his life. So even that wasn't free. God actually sent his son to pay for it. That's why I say he paid for our sins by his blood. And so that was paid for. But then the gospel moving forward is free. We as children of God, and we as ministers of the gospel, we go and we share the good news to people, and that's free. You know, it's your prerogative to begin to share with whoever you meet, or wherever you meet them. But now when you start now wanting to charge on those platforms, it starts becoming tricky, because now you start saying, okay, we charge for concerts and those kind of things. You know, so it really becomes tricky. But for us, and I can only speak for what we've been doing and what our culture is, I don't think we will ever get to the point really where we're going to charge for people to come online. Perhaps with a conference or an event, online event, maybe pay-per-view, where you kind of have to, you know, register to get on. We perhaps would do that, but that would be in a situation where we're hosting something, you know, of that nature, but not generally just for everyday church, you know.
Yeah, but do you think it then would be wise for smaller churches to consider having those kind of online conferences? Because churches in smaller churches are in the position where they are not getting any income whatsoever, and at the end of the day, that means they can't pay their staff at all, and there's no contingency plan because nobody planned for this to happen, right? Especially churches that have just started out. What do you recommend for them going forward? Because I mean, a lot of this funding that's coming through sounded amazing in the beginning, but we're now learning that a lot of them are actually loans. And on top of not getting an income for however long, it's not wise necessarily to get a loan either, because you still have to make up for that when things open up. And church can only run at a certain pace. It's not like they can do 15 services a week to try and make up for it or something. What do you think the best recommendation for smaller churches in that position are right now?
Look, it's definitely incredibly challenging for churches right now. I mean, even the big churches, ones that you would think, they're fine, they you know, they're okay. Even some of, I mean, we rub shoulders with a lot of pastors from you know, quite established churches, and it's not sunshine and roses for anyone at this point. It's a really challenge for everyone at this point. But what we've started teaching, especially to our congregation, is that we started teaching from Exodus, where Moses goes through those 40 years, remember, in the desert, and how important it really is that when we fully rely on God, God is capable and able of seeing us through a situation, because we know different to the Israelites, where they came out of Egypt, they were walking, there wasn't food, there wasn't water, there was nothing. It was literally just and they had to like rely on God. That was their only option. They didn't have a choice, and they had to somehow go to God and say, Lord. And Moses had to go to the mountain and say, these people are talking about killing me here, and they've been all over the place. So, you know, you need to come through and do something. And God, through to his word, literally came through, and he sorted it out, you know. And he said, in Exodus chapter 16, he says, and I will send manna from heaven. And then he says to Moses, now go tell the people that they must only take enough for the day. Let's see if they can really trust me. And this is now a point in every believer's life. Okay, let's see. This kind of offering thing that we're preaching about, this thing that God will come through in the midst of your situation. Let's see now how real God really is. And let's see, because now we have no choice. Now you can't just go make a loan or do this, do that. Now it's like, dude, now you have to God. We have no choice. And so what we've resorted to is, God, this is all we can do to this point. Now you have to show us there's nothing else we can do. And I would advise any church to say, listen to God. Let your senior leader go and hear what God has to say. God gives advice, God gives counsel, God gives direction, God gives strategy. And that for me is a big one. I've been living my life according to Joshua chapter 1, where God says, Moses is now dead. And he tells Joshua, now you take the people into the promised land. And then he says, but only be strong and courageous. Then Joshua says, now, God, give me strategy. That's an important word to know. Because when you ask God for strategy, he'll show you loopholes that the naked eye wouldn't have seen. And so
Yes.
ask God for strategy. I would advise any pastor, ask God for strategy. And God's going to give you strategy, and somehow God will carry us through this. Nobody knows the answer, but God will carry us through this.
Yeah. You see, now this is the thing I've been talking about. Like, church is essentially a business at the end of the day. And a lot of the businesses now have all had a strategy that they've put in place. I know that there are companies in South Africa, major businesses at the moment, who are running online conferences because they know they need to still be out there in this time. They found loopholes, like you were saying, in many different platforms, in many different ways to reach people. But on the church side, it seems like people are like a little more afraid to kind of figure out what those loopholes are, because at the end of the day, all of the things that are available are for all of us to use equally, whether you are a church or a business or a religious group or whatever the case may be. And from what I can see, that we're not taking advantage of all of those opportunities, every opportunity that we get. I know that you guys have a conference that was supposed to happen in June. I was saying to everyone, I want to go because it looked so amazing at the Dome. What is your plan going forward with that now? Because obviously we don't know how long this is going to continue. And chances are that even if we're at lockdown stage 2 at that time, that the amount of people you are planning to have at this conference is obviously not going to be possible.
So you getting really some of the first information at this point. I haven't yet put out a official kind of statement as far as what the way forward is, but obviously I think we can all see that this year is going to be a bit of a challenge. And even if everything lifts to like no restriction, people are in some like, oh, don't touch me, oh, don't sneeze on me, oh, don't clear your throat around me. People are, so like picky about these kind of things that even then, because remember, these conferences don't just happen. It is a build up towards it. You have to sell tickets. You have to get, you have to pay the place off, which by the way was 2.4 million for the whole conference. You have to pay these things. You have to pay, lights and sound alone is 1.2 million. That's excluding venue hire. That's excluding whatever else you still need to pay and sort out. And so these things are incredibly expensive. And leading up to it, that's part of the reason we were selling tickets. And again, we were selling tickets for 150, 250. We weren't even like really. If you go to any event at the Dome, you're not going to get any ticket under 850 rand.
Yeah, they started like 900 rand at the Dome.
850, 1,000, and then Golden Circle can go anywhere close to 3,500, 4,000 rand. So because, and I think we as churches should stop doing that, where we kind of downplay ourselves. Because I've been to conferences, church conferences, and last year we went to the Hillsong conference in Australia. And it's better than any event I've been to, or even a secular event, or any artist that has come to perform. I've been to some artist events, especially when they come to South Africa. And that church conference, the level of excellence, the level of quality is so high that it trumps these secular events. Even big celebrities, it trumps it like completely. And so we as churches should take pride in our product and say, hey, we actually bring a dope product to the market here, and we're actually better than a lot of these secular gigs that are happening out here. Our quality is higher. I remember when we were doing Factory, pulling in 1,000 people on a Friday night, even clubs were saying, dude, how the hell are you getting 1,000 young people in a room on a freaking Friday night, bro? You emptying us out. It was because we gave them something of substance, and we were giving them a quality product. You go to a club, you have a party, yay, and then you go home, you're drunk, you slept, you did something you're not proud of.
And you left us nothing.
Yeah, you come to church, you had an experience, you had an encounter, you go home feeling different, you're changing your life. And so I say that to say that to get the 6th of June going, it was a hell of a build up. And so when COVID-19 gets now announced, it puts a big damper on the build up. It stops ticket sales in its tracks. We've already a quarter of the building full that we've already sold out. It now complicates everything. And so our best way moving forward at this point seems to be postponement. So the conversation I'm having with the Dome now is, guys, we've already paid almost 200,000 rand so far as like a deposit and towards our payment.
Yeah.
Can you guys shift the date for us? So the conversation we're having now is to move the date either to end of the year or to next year around the same period. And I'm starting to lean more to the idea of actually just moving it to next year in the same period, simply because it buys us more time. It gives a better opportunity to begin to still continue to sell tickets, and it gives us a chance to make those payments, So that's kind of good.
Yeah, but I think also it gives you guys the opportunity to also make it at a much larger scale, because I mean, with marketing, it always needs time to catch ears, right? And obviously, because I follow you and I know your family and your church and all that, obviously I would see your things first. But the people who obviously haven't even heard about it. But you were also saying, sorry to break your word, but you were also saying that like the quality needs to be as high like it was at Hillsong Church. The thing that always used to get to me about church and about youth was that we always seem to do everything at a scale that was, oh no, this is as much as we can do, so we're going to give you what we can do. But we are competing with secular industries that are doing 10,000 times more than what it is that we even making available to the people. So obviously they're going to end up going to the club. They're going to end up going to the secular concert, because we're not showing that there's anything to compete with out there. And most of the churches are just like taking that, like, no, if people want to come to church, they'll come. But why aren't we, using the same kind of mechanisms to pull them in? I remember what youth was like when I was growing up, and I loved it. But I only knew about youth because my parents were church people. For people who aren't church people, they don't have any way of introducing. I remember you shared your story on how it was a big conference that you went to as well. And if your parents weren't in ministry, otherwise you would have never known, right? But at the level that we're seeing the secular concerts coming to South Africa and how they're being advertised on social media and on the radio and whatever, why are we not going to the same lengths to do the same thing? Which is why I wanted to come to your conference, because I haven't been to something like that since Kirk Franklin was here. 2009. Like, if it wasn't earlier than that, 1999.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah. So I think,
but yeah,
I think, and that's part of why we did Factory with that high level of excellence. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been, but the lights, the sound, we really went the extra mile because we're doing this for God. It's not supposed to be a freaking sideshow. It's supposed to be the main show. And that's part of the reason we said, let's go for the Ticket Pro Dome, because Cardi B was supposed to perform like 3-4 days after us. So much so that they were saying, because Castle Light Unlocks was doing Cardi B like the next Friday, and we were doing Saturday. And they came to us saying, look, sir, we need to ask you guys for permission as far as the lights and sound, because it was the same company setting up for both events. And they were like, please bring in this and bring in this earlier because Cardi B is going to perform. I said, you guys are not going to bring in things and use our show as a freaking sideshow, as a practice because Cardi B is coming next week. If you want to do our show, you have to do it with the highest level of excellence. And then by all means, the Cardi show next week. I have no issue with that. But I mean, it got to the point where these big companies will even come to us say, okay, bro, you guys have it booked for the week before this, and Cardi B has it booked for the week after this. And it was literally like that. We were on the 6th of June, and she was literally the next weekend. So I say that to say that there has to be a high level of excellence. It can't be, by the way. But the one thing we as church people need to understand, to achieve that high level of excellence, it takes a lot of money. Like I said, the Soul Out Conference cost 2.4 million rand. These big corporates, they have 947 on board. That just to make an advert on 947 is going to cost you an arm and a leg. They have big corporates, they have F&B, they have like these big companies backing them, throwing money at them. You as a church go, the first thing that corporate says to you is, no, sir, we don't do religious organizations, so you're on your own. You now have to come up with that money from scratch. And that's what makes it more difficult.
Always.
But that's what makes it
I see, and I know. from growing up in church, recognize that firsthand what a struggle it is for church, because it's difficult for companies to align themselves to a church brand or the idea of church, and then it makes it difficult for them to work with other people who would have more money maybe, or more opportunities, or whatever the case may be. So with regards to now having to move the conference and everything, with the world in general in turmoil, and we now having to bump elbows and wear masks 24 hours a day when we're out, what do you think the actual church environment is going to be like after this? Because, we church people, we hug. We love to hug, and we love to chill with our church members and stuff like that. But now we're going to have to introduce all of these precautions. And I remember just before the lockdown happened, the last service that I attended at our church, we had to sanitize our hands and we couldn't hug. And it was the weirdest experience for me. It didn't feel like that family, kind of atmosphere that we were used to. Do you think that we're going to have to change the way that we do this going forward, and the way that we interact with one another? Because church is supposed to be family. It's not necessarily going to work situation where you don't have to hug anyone.
I have an interesting view on this. I believe that as human beings, we are innately created by God to be around other human beings. It's in our nature, it's in our DNA, it's who we are. You're not going to be able to just take that off in like a heartbeat. I also believe that the worst form of punishment for any human being in prison is called solitary confinement. Put him in a place where he's alone and there's no one, he can't even greet, he can't even speak, can't see the light of day. And it's the worst form of punishment that anyone can ever endure. And we as humans, we long to be around people, man. We want to greet and hug and things, and we're going to find a way to get that done. So for me personally, soon as church opens, people are going to be like, yo, but I missed you. Yo, it's a long time no see. There will be those who's like, oh, it's sanitized. Oh, this, oh, that, oh, put a mask. But the vast majority is going to be like, bruh, never mind the mask. Poor man, the last question, yo. I missed you.
If I get it, I get it.
We're going to want to hug and greet. And I mean, I've been seeing some church people, in and about, like, I go to Checkers or whatever. And they're like, hey, bro, I know it's Corona, but yeah, my bro, come here, hug you. And really, so I think people are going to go back to like, I can't.
Yeah, because we miss that human interaction. Because for me personally, I was watching a video the other day of, I think it was Tay Tribbett, singing on a live concert. And I wasn't missing church until I watched that video. And I was like, that fellowship environment, you really feel starved from it after a while. Like, especially for those of us who were little in church, I mean, I was practically born in the church. So we used to having that every Sunday. It's prayer meeting. Cell meetings. You had that, and we live in an area where our church people are scattered all over the place. It's not like I can go visit my neighbor because they don't go to church with me, and so they're not going to have the same kind of conversations I want to have. But you really, really like feel that something big is missing in your life. And my kids were even saying they really, really miss our church.
Especially kids that grew up in church. A friend of mine said, hey, bro, kids only know church. This is torture for them not to be around people. Sorry, what are you going to ask?
No, I'm just saying, like, even my kids they feel starved from the communication, because we actually moved to our church based on what they wanted. We were in a very big church previously, so we visited this church and they were like, we love it here, we're just gonna stay. So they made the choice for us. So I think it's harder for them than it is for us. But it's funny though. We're not going to church, but in the time that we do our family altars at supper, we're starting to recognize how much church has benefited our children. Because my daughter last night decided she's going to stand on the chair, and I wish I had videoed this whole 40-minute scenario of her standing on the chair and preaching to us. and telling us what the Bible says and how we need to have the fruits of the Spirit. She was telling us for like a whole 40 minutes last night. It was quite hilarious. But I didn't realize until now that we're all so close, in such close proximity 24 hours a day, how much they actually need that interaction at Sunday school and at church as well.
Yeah, so I think it's, are you still there? I think it's astounding how I think a lot of people are going to now for the first time realize the impact of church when they're alone with their children, and actually realize how much church, like you just mentioned, how much church actually does for your kids and for your environment. Because church does things, it's like school. My daughter come home and say things that we know we didn't teach her. Like using big words and like, you know, interesting, you know, phrases and stuff that she uses. Like the other day she said, "Dad, I placed it on the counter." And I was like,
oh wow,
you placed it on the counter. Like, you know, someone just, I put it there, you know, and she's on some, I placed it. And then I told my wife, I'm like, yo, this child actually learned things that we didn't know. And the other day she said, and we're not supposed to be scared because Jesus is going to look after us. So I said, okay. She's like, I learned it at Sunday school. So you realize now how that interaction with other people and what in the right environments. I believe that if you're in the right environment, you grow. It's like trees or flowers or grass or whatever. In a bad environment, nothing's going to grow. In a good environment, it's going to flourish. And so you now, for the first time in a long time, you'll realize, oh snap, church is actually, because you take it for granted that you're there all the time and you see the people. And especially to single mothers where they go to church with their children and that uncle or that usher, you know, greets that light, especially a young boy, greets the light and makes him feel like, you know, that kid feels like, hey, there's a sense of belonging here, there's a sense of family here. And now, you know, you kind of remove that from that kid's life. And, you know, it's critical, actually, the life of church.
Yeah. Well, okay, in closing, I want to ask you, what is the one piece of advice that you would give anybody who's in ministry, who is stuck at home right now and for the better part of the next few months? The one thing you want to leave them with going forward, so that they can just kind of either keep moving forward, keep helping people in the best way they know how, even though the resources are minimal at the moment. What is the best thing you can leave them with?
The biggest thing that I've now realized, in and of even for myself, is the best thing you can do for yourself now is build your relationship with God to a level where you hear Him clearly. Again, strategy, clarity, direction. Those things come from God. If the biggest decisions I've ever made that yielded me the best results was clear strategy straight from God. Factory was a strategy from God. You know, getting married, strategy from God. The person I decided to marry, strategy from God. The house I'm living in was strategy from God. Whether I should buy a certain car or not was strategy from God. Whether that price was right or not was strategy from God. The best thing you can do for yourself now is get that strategy from God Himself. So take time and spend it with God. And when you begin to hear God's voice, everything around you won't matter anymore. You'll hear different strategies. You'll feel a different vibe. God will give you innovative ideas. How can you use this? How can you use that? And from me, I've been feeling from God now, make the most of my social media platforms. I think yesterday when we were setting up this meeting, I said, I've been so quiet on social media. And you get that and move. And then I asked God, okay, Lord, what's the way forward? And I'm getting that strategy from God. Okay, continue with your vlogging channel so that people can get inspiration from family living and kids and blah, blah, blah. Continue with your online preaching on your Instagram channel so that people can get inspiration. That I get because I asked God, Lord, what's my next move? What do you think I should do? And for now, I've seen people flourish in this time of lockdown. People that I was like, no, dude, you weren't supposed to be doing well, but you're killing the game right now because they're taking what the negative situation was supposed to be and they're flipping it on its head. And they say, hey, I can actually let me make the most out of this. But my first point of departure would be get a clear strategy from God. Hey, Lord, what's the way to move forward here? And you'll start feeling in your heart and you'll start feeling a certain direction. Okay, let me start pursuing this. Let me start doing this. And that's God now telling you, okay, go this direction, start doing this, go there. And then that will be my...
because you need to have your foundation ready when all this is ended, right? For the next level.
Because if
Thank you so
like
much.
I said, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing spiritually, and everything goes back to normal, you're gonna be left far behind. I was speaking to another pastor friend of mine, and he does this thing where he logs on with his congregation on some app where it's like it's a big voice call, and he logged on to this app, and his congregation logs on at a certain time every time, and they were all just praying together on this app, and I was like, damn, this is cool. This is like something I would like to do. And then he reminded me again that when this is all done, I don't want to come back to a church to congregation members who are dry, who have now divorced because they were fighting there at home, who have now like all sorts of remorse that's been going on during this lockdown. I need to keep them fed and keep them spiritually in the right place. And so that would be my best advice.
Yeah, I know two people at the moment who are busy with doing the one is training people, and the other one's also doing like sort of an app situation for a time like this, which I think is really innovative, because it's going to help them going forward. Because chances are that we are going to end up in the same situation at some point again, and how ready are we going to be for it then? We should have been ready already, you know, especially us. We're supposed to be at the front lines of this, but the church is always dragging their feet when it comes to this kind of innovation. But thank you so much for your time. I'm so glad we were able to do this, because the struggle on Facebook the last time was just too much. Guys, those of you who are watching, and Nicole asked why you're not vlogging anymore. Nicole, he just released a vlog this morning. Go and check it out.
Check it out.
And you can follow Xavier at Xavier_Hendricks on Instagram. This video is going up on YouTube probably towards the end of the week. And then I'll let you guys all know. But thank you so much for your time. It was banging. I'm glad we were able to do it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the things that are going to come up with you guys in the next couple of weeks. I think you guys have inspired a lot of other churches also to get their wheels running. So I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be at the forefront of this when lockdown ends. But thank you so much, and say hi to your girls and your wife. And I need some of that pizza.
Thank you so much.